All right, we are back on Beam City Sports. This is Tyler Texeira and Luke Mitchell with a very special guest today. We are here joined by Deuce and Mo, Deuce Mason and Morgan Ragan of the Deuce and Mo podcast.
Yeah.
So excited to have you guys here with us today. How are you guys feeling?
Yeah, I'm good. I appreciate you guys having us on. I know we've been trying to make this happen for a while, and it's like, hey, we are less. Actually, is it a week away from the NBA season?
1
as
week
we're
away
recording?
from
It's King season.
Kings basketball.
So, yeah, man, it's crazy. It's back. It's back. So I know we're all very excited.
Yeah, very excited to have you guys on. And, you guys have done so much for Sacramento in the media space. You guys are,
well, thank you.
In my opinion, the best Sacramento Kings podcast out there. Get all the Kings news and all NBA news from you guys.
It's quick. It's an instant. It's right there.
So happy to have you guys on. But what were some pivotal moments in your guys' early careers that really got you to where you are today?
I mean, if you start back from the beginning, I think both Deuce and I grew up loving broadcast, journalism, sports, everything for different reasons. But I would say let's fast forward to 2016 and one of the pivotal moment that put us in this direction, that lit a fire under our asses. And we're just like, we gotta make sure we're doing something else, was when we were let go from Sports 1140 KHGK and on April 1st, 2016. Happy April Fools, right?
Yeah.
Like, what a joke. And, but all that did was motivate us to do something. And 2 weeks later, we started a podcast in the corner of a kitchen and never looked back.
Yeah. And, there were obstacles with that along the way. Like when we first started our podcast, we were doing a sports podcast and we weren't focused on it. Then, the pandemic happens and you're kind of reassessing your life. It's like you're at home and we're just talking about, okay, what are some things we can do? We want to get this podcast going in a good direction. And we were on a walk one day and I was like, hey, Morgan, why don't we start going live after Kings games? Because back in the day when I was growing up, now I'm aging myself here. I used to listen to sports radio in bed, and there would be after Kings games, there'd be post game shows and reaction and calls and sound. And I feel like that's kind of gone, the extended post games. I felt like we could do this after games, and everybody's at home right now. Let's just try it out. And it started with 20 people maybe, and we just kept doing it. And our commitment was doing it after every single game. And then the community just grew. It was fun. I think it was a time that we were looking for something creative, but also I think others were looking for some fun content. And we all kind of came together talking about a really crappy basketball team at the time.
There we go. I think I hate to say it, but the crappy basketball team brings everybody together here in Sacramento. That's why the whole fan base is so strong. That's why we've been here.
It's true. I mean, you want to make sure that you have a community to commiserate with or, to feel all the feels. And the fact that we had that place and it wasn't a depressing place though. That was the coolest part about it. And I don't know if we were the ones that kind of led it in that direction because of the way that we talk about basketball, or if it's because this community is a basketball community and understands basketball to a different level. Sure, you still have people with their hot takes and emotions and pissed off and irrational thoughts. But at the same time, I felt like we mostly built a community or a platform where people, even during the bad times, just wanted to be with each other.
It was relatable, and it was we were all able to talk about it at the same time. Yeah.
I think it was great that you guys, after games went live because, like you guys said, after the post-game show of that 20 to 30 minutes of talking about the game after the game, you guys always went live, and that was always something I wanted to join in. Because you're not over it yet. After that 20 minutes after the game, you still want to hear more, intake on what happened tonight and what's going to happen in the next few games. And you guys always did so good at that. So just congratulations with everything you guys have done already.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And, it's a one good thing, too, about doing the podcast is I've said this multiple times to people, if we don't do the podcast the way we did after games, I don't think either one of us is doing stuff on NBC Sports California now. So it's just crazy how life works out.
Yeah, I was gonna. You guys mentioned that you started it back in the pandemic time, you guys trying to brew up ideas. Do you guys think that kind of helped you guys get to where you are now? Because maybe you guys would have been in the studio with your job and kind of in front of the camera the whole time, or do you think this or like that? Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, it helped. I mean, I think, there's something about like that time specifically impacted, of course, so many people. And it also, you know, for me, you're doing some soul searching about like life and, what you want to do.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes it wasn't like a desperate thing. It was just like, no, when you're doing something out of like, this is what we want to do. It's like our art. We love it. Like
creative freedom.
Yeah.
And that alone can inspire your imagination to do so many things that click things in your body that makes you feel so good. That brings so much joy.
It was freeing
to your life. Yeah.
And by the way, not knowing, like, it wasn't like, hey, let's do this thing after a game where, hey, if we do this, it's going to lead to this and this and this. No, our intentions, I could say both of us, our intentions are not like hey, we want to be famous or something.
Oh, no.
We want to be well known. It's like, no, you know what I want to do? I want to be able to like make a living talking about basketball, a sport I love. And if I do that, that's a win to me. And that's how I approached it. It's like, it's a passion. We love what we do. We pour so much into what we do, whether it's a podcast, TV, whatever we do, like we're going to like pour our heart and soul into it because we love it. It's our lives and it's fun.
And that came easy for us too, which was it's surprising, when you grow up, as you're growing up, and parents, mom and dad, whoever, always say, you want to love what you're doing. Make sure you'll never feel like you're working, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, okay, someone that worked restaurant jobs and I worked retail, dear God. And and then even when I was working in this business, like there was a time like a long time ago where I'm like getting bullied in this business, TV and LA and everything. It's just like people are not always great with egos in this business, but it was like, once you find that niche of what truly brings you joy with that type of creative freedom, and especially when it's yours, it's your baby, it's like, oh yeah, there's like no turning back.
Yeah. It's this business is a grind. I always tell people that who want to get into it, it's a grind. Like I started interning unofficially at a radio station when I was 16. I was in high school. I was screening phone calls, just watching behind the scenes, not getting credit. I would just go in after school, work 4 to 9, Fridays work 4 to midnight. And that's when I was 16. I'm 36 now. And I feel like for the first time, I'm turning the corner into what I want to do. I'm still not where I want to be. I appreciate where I am, but it's been crazy to say. I've been doing this for 20 years, all these different levels. And it's like, it's fun. And I'm still learning.
Immature.
Yes. I'm still an idiot. No, but no.
So
the biggest thing
we like to see them on the TV. It's relatable to us. We like to
Immature idiots. Love it.
Exactly. So the biggest thing I would say to people in the business and just in life in general is whatever field you're in, like just evolve. Even as a person, you got to evolve.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys have accomplished so much already, like you mentioned. For 20 years, you said the last 20 years since you were 16, you started. But what are the next steps for you guys? You guys have already done play-by-play for Stockton, which I loved hearing that. That's one of my goals personally, is to be a play-by-play guy in the future. So what's the next steps for you guys? I don't know. Yeah. You guys have accomplished everything like that in Sacramento. Are you guys trying to go bigger than Sacramento, or what's the next goals?
You're too kind, Tyler. And it's so funny. By the way, whenever we say we haven't reached certain things, we never take for granted what we have right now. And we always look at how long and far it took us to get to this point, and we're very appreciative. But we also know that where we are right now is nowhere near our end goals. And I think a lot of our end goals do have to do with being in Sacramento. Like the fact that we are covering our hometown team, that literally our childhood heroes played for this organization, and now we're adults covering it still like little children getting giddy after games and everything. It's just incredible. But I would say, doing some play-by-play, and I do color analyst work in the G League. we really do one day want to do color and play-by-play in the NBA. And, you know, there's only 30 of those jobs. So wherever that opening ends up being, you know, we'd love to participate in, but also maybe even doing some WNBA as well, because there's more opportunities there. And we want to be able to do the podcast forever. And if that evolves into a different format, which it might, if we're doing play-by-play in color and then hosting this and doing this, then we'll get there when we get there. But like, we want to have this community and this podcast forever.
Yeah. I mean, to echo that, like, that's the ultimate goal. I want to do play-by-play at, you know, the NBA, WNBA level. And it's super competitive. It is what it is, but like, I'm going to keep pushing.
Keep pushing.
And yeah, I mean, I feel so grateful that I could be working in my hometown market. Like Morgan said, like, this is a rarity in the NBA. Most, like, everyone, I feel like, for the most part, who works in the NBA on pre and post game shows or do play-by-play in color, like, they grew up a fan of the game and a team. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know of any other like people who work in the industry that are in their hometown doing it. And so I feel so grateful. I want to be in Sacramento forever. I don't have some crazy goals. Like, I want to be on ESPN and TNT or Amazon or NBC. Like, sure, would I do those things? Yes. But that, I can achieve my happiness in Sacramento. And like, I want to take our podcast to new heights, whatever it looks like. Like, I want to have some of the best NBA players on our podcast, WNBA players, coaches, executives. And I think that we can do that.
Like, whenever people say, oh, you're going to be on ESPN one day, like, that's the end all be all. Like, that's not that to me, because I'm in the business, that doesn't trigger like my end goal at all. Like, that doesn't mean, I can't say it doesn't mean anything to me, because I did sideline for an ESPN game, and I remember having that ESPN mic flag, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is this. It was a cool moment, right? But I'm not like, oh, I have to work for ESPN one day to make it. I just have to be happy and doing what I love. And that, to me, I know that sounds so cliche, but that, and being able to put a roof over my head, you know, like, sure. And do I want to take a vacation once a year? Would love. But if I can't do that, great. I will still be happy.
Yeah. You know, you guys are living the dream, you know, covering basketball for a living. And we can't be more like looking up to you guys every day.
Definitely
just
a big
seeing,
inspiration.
what you guys are doing. And I have to shout out your live show that you guys have. So you guys have already had crazy guests on. You had De'Aaron on. You've had countless other crazy guests
Ellis,
on.
That was my favorite. Yeah. The one with Keon Ellis, that one was a great episode.
Thank you.
But yeah, you guys have the live show today, or is that today or tomorrow?
No, next week.
Next week.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Harlow's next week at Harlow's. Yeah,
definitely gonna try and slide to that.
Then try to go there.
The night before the night before the NBA season or Kings season, it's gonna be fun. Yeah, and it's unfortunately, guys, it's completely sold out.
That's what I saw that earlier today. It's sold out.
This is not a gimmick. Like, it's sold out.
Are there any special guests that we could know about that are showing up?
We're working on some things. I'll just say this too. Like, that's the one thing about the pod. I was thinking about this when Morgan was talking about creative freedom. Like, our live show, we've done one before at a smaller venue the night before the NBA playoffs when the Kings played the Warriors, and it's like 150 people there, and you know, it was packed and it was awesome. This one was 250, but we don't like do our podcast. You know, it's like it's part of our little bit of conversation. The show that we're doing, we have not done anything like what we're doing next week. Like, this is a pretty intense production. I mean, it's gonna be really fun.
You know, some might say, wow, that was really cool, and others might be like, wow, that was really cringe. But you know what? Everyone's gonna have a damn old good time.
Are you guys gonna be live streaming it on YouTube as well, or?
We're not live streaming it, but we should have some footage that we'll put out eventually. Just, you know, highlighting the night. But you know, the end goal is we want people who can't be there to enjoy it for sure. But we also want people to be like, hey, I should go to one of their shows.
Yeah, that's the thing, because I think a lot of people always think it's just like 3 chairs. It's a live podcast. They're having a guest, and it's like, no. We want people to kind of get a glimpse of what the chaos is going on on the inside.
We draw a lot of inspiration from people who are not in sports too. Like, you know, there's a lot of great sports podcasts, Kings podcast, NBA, sure, but we're into a lot of like comedian podcasts, and we saw Bad Friends, Andrew Santino, Bobby Lee, they did like a live tour of their podcast. And we didn't know what it was going to be like going to it. Like, is it going to be their podcast? And it wasn't. And it was a huge inspiration for us to be like, oh,
this is how you do a
this
live
is
show.
like, it's not just you sitting on stage and, hey, we're just doing our show in front of people. It's like, no,
it's
like
a whole
you need to make it
thing.
bigger than that. So so we're very, we're very excited.
We don't do stand up. Let me tell you, we're not, we're definitely not trying to do. We are doing some things out of our comfort zone, but not stand up.
Well, really excited to see what that live show is. But let's jump into some Kings talk. The Kings signed Doug McDermott yesterday after trading Jalen McDaniels for absolutely nothing. This move has me a little scared, though. Does this mean that Kevin Huerter might be potentially on the move in the before the season starts?
I don't think it impacts Kevin Huerter at this point. I mean, he's still coming back from the shoulder thing. He just did 5-on-5 scrimmages a couple of days ago. We don't know how it went because the Kings have been on the road, but I think when the Kings were evaluating how things were going in the preseason, and just to be honest, like they lose someone in Harrison Barnes who was a 40% 3-point shooter. And when you look at where the Kings are at right now, Herter's not back, Trey Lyles isn't back yet. You could make a case you need some more shooting. You also lost Sasha, and I know he was in and out, but like he is a guy who could knock down threes. To get someone like Doug McDermott for depth purposes, who's 6'6", movement shooter, can come off DHOs, pin downs, movement shooter, like just a smart player and a career 41% 3-point shooter, has chemistry with Sabonis. I think to me, it's like a no-brainer. It's not like he's playing 45 minutes.
I think about his size as a shooter too, because like I know everyone's like, oh, well, you didn't add a lot more length and size to this team. Like that's what you're looking for. But at the same time, when you're getting a 6'6" small forward out there, you are in some ways adding that type of size. Sure, he's not going to be the best defender, but
he may not be able to guard me, but I can tell you, I can't guard his shot.
But in Mike Brown's,
he has a quick shot. His shot is super quick.
And in Mike Brown's team defense, it might try and put a Band-Aid on some of his flaws as well. But you talk about his quick shot as well. I mean, you think about in transition, or you think about DeMar, De'Aaron driving to the paint, and then let's say size affects their shot. Exactly. Like they have someone to kick out to that they can depend on.
And obviously it doesn't fix like the Kings' other weaknesses, which is size up front. But like, let me ask anyone out there, where are we getting this player in the free agent market that is like 6'7" to 6'9", who could defend multiple positions and be able to hit a three? Player doesn't exist because he is on an NBA team and most likely not getting traded, because that's a player that every team covets. Now, Monty still has work to do to figure out, all right, how do I get this team to the next level? But he's a big subscriber, and you can never have enough shooting. He has said that forever. And like, you can get played off the floor if you can't shoot in this league. And the one thing we know about Doug is he is an elite shooter.
Especially with how much we struggled in the preseason game so far. Just, I mean, we were talking about the shooting stats yesterday, and then like I think we missed over 15 of our threes in every single game, and then we hit like I think 6 for 27 against the Trailblazers, which was not hot.
Yeah,
and let's not talk about that Portland game. That was nasty.
Yeah, no, I love adding Doug McDermott, especially having the chemistry with Sabonis in there. That's going to be a pretty awesome kind of just solid minutes. He's not going to get 25 minutes. He's not going to get 20 minutes probably, but the minutes he does get, it's going to be a solid showing.
Where do you guys predict the Kings to land in the standings this year? If you had to put a place on it right now.
It could be anywhere.
Dude, well, she hates making predictions. I'm more like I like being honest and doing like what's their ceiling, what's their like floor.
And so he acts like I don't like making predictions, but guess what his prediction's going to be? Anywhere between 2 and 6, guys.
No. I my range would be greater than that. I mean, look, they could be.
That's kind of how
they could be 10th. They could be 10th. They could be. I think if everything broke right, picture perfect, like let's just say the offense, the juggernaut, teams are banged up, could they finish like 2nd? Sure. Like I mean, but I think my honest prediction is they are going to be a top 6 team. They will make the playoffs. I think they have enough offense. With the preseason stuff, I'm just not like, I don't get swayed that much by it. Now, I still get swayed by the size issues, but I knew that before even seeing them play a game. Right. I'm watching Minnesota-Chicago last night, and Chicago was kicking the crap out of Minnesota. Yeah. Anthony Edwards was 3 for 16 from 3. it doesn't matter, right? Like, you think Ant's going the same way, he's approaching the game the same way. Like, they're still trying to figure stuff out. I think sometimes what we forget, and I do too, I have to remind myself of this, preseason. This is training camp still. You're supposed to work on things. Yeah. You're supposed to get in shape for the season. This is what it's for. So, like, I don't really care about wins or losses. The Portland game was hideous. I thought they bounced back fine. The depth thing right now is a bit of a concern with the injuries, but like, I think overall they're going to be a good team.
And I think the Western Conference is just everywhere. You know, stacked. I mean, it's stacked, but then also like you go to OKC and you see that Hartenstein is already injured, going to be out 5 to 6 weeks, I believe the timeline is. Again, not the longest time in the world or anything, but my point is you just never know in this league how that one piece being unhealthy on any of these teams in the Western Conference can affect that team's record, where they end up in the standings, and how it could benefit the Kings, but how health could also hurt the Kings as well.
Yeah. So that kind of brings up my next question. The with how deep the Western Conference is and like how many good teams there are, do you guys have a team that kind of down, like ranked towards the bottom, kind of just like maybe the Rockets down at 11 or 12? Do you think you see them maybe shooting up and kind of throwing a wrench in our projections or anything like that?
Houston's interesting. I am really eager to see how it shakes out for them, because they're a 500-ish team last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
and they got hot late. When Şengün was out.
Dude, well,
Jalen Green was leading the way.
Cooking.
Yeah.
That, but also when we were watching Utah the other day, that was a team that I was like, oh, wait, could they be better than I think? And
they're going to be.
Again, exactly. Like what I can.
There's so much talent in this league, though.
But they're in, not only with that, but even with a team like Utah, like you go, oh, if everyone stays healthy, if they play together, like that's a big ass team, like, and then you go to Minnesota and you go, well, they're going to be different, because what are they going to look like with Julius Randle and Gobert on the floor together? So there's just so many of these teams that even at the bottom where I'm like, will they just be an annoying team, or will they end up shooting up? I don't know.
Yeah, and for Houston specifically, like I think they're in an interesting spot because they've got some intriguing young talent. I think Reed Shepherd could be a really good player in this league. I like what I've seen, but like, what's his role going to be? Van Vliet's in front of him. His contract situation's a little murky. Like they feel like they've got like this kind of weird mix of individuals, but they have talent, and Udoka is, going to bring out the best in these guys. The question, I think, they were tied to Kevin Durant at one point this offseason. I think they are waiting to make that big swing at something.
Jimmy Butler.
So I wonder
Jimmy Butler was one, right?
Yeah, maybe. But, does that take him? I don't know. And you start looking at that situation, you wonder, like, okay, could they be around the same, which is like a 500 team until they make that big move?
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, I like the Rockets a lot. I'm big on Cam Whitmore as well. He's one of my. I'm predicting him to have a breakout year this year. I think he's going to take over one of those starting spots. He's a fun player. Yeah. But before we close it out, I want to ask you guys. I want to play a fun game. It's called Cap or No Cap. So cap what cap means? Like, it's not true.
Come on, man.
Okay, just making sure.
We're so young.
He's calling
I'm
you guys
Gen Z,
old.
dude.
Okay. And you went to Del Campo. I know you know the slang. So, all right. Well, the first question is: Keegan Murray will be an all-star in the future. Cap or no cap?
Hang on. Let's put something in the future. In the next 2 years.
2 years is a little.
Nah, I don't think that's a little. 3 years.
Tough one.
Wait, did you say an all-star?
Yeah.
In the next 2 years?
2 to 3 years.
I'm gonna
because you said in the future.
You had the third year. You're saying 2 to 3. This matters.
Third year could be.
That does matter.
I just mean
in the future. I guess then.
In the future, wow.
An all-star, yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying. I think he will. Definitely be one. That's why I'm giving that that.
Man, it's tough. He's a borderline guy.
Do you think well, here's the other thing too. I can't ever picture him being a fan favorite and being voted in. No. You know what I mean?
No.
And so
I'm gonna say in the future, no cap. He'll be an all-star. He has all-star potential. It doesn't mean in 2 years, but it took De'Aaron year 6 to make it.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, and I just think the reason I think that is I think Keegan has the ability to be a really special two-way talent in this league. Like he had, to me, an all defensive team upside.
Yeah.
Maybe even this year, I think he would get some buzz for it.
And in this market, your team has to be winning in everything. Like almost everything has to be perfect if you want an all-star.
Yeah, he would need to be like a legit two-way talent and average like 23 a game, 7 rebounds, good three-point shooting, and locking down everybody. I don't know.
We know he can do it. We know Keegan has that in him.
We'll see. I mean, he has it in him. The question is, will he be able to do it? You know, it's consistency. It's being physical all the time. It's a big year for him.
Yeah. That leads to my next question. If Keon Ellis will ever make an all-defensive team in his career. You know, he's taken over that starting spot this year. So, you know, hopefully he stays in that starting spot for years to come.
He's a pretty feisty on-ball perimeter defender again. But, like, De'Aaron led the leagues in steals last year.
And the top of deflections and got no love. I'll say this.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. My hot take.
What?
I think the Kings have 3 players on the roster right now who have all defensive team upside. They're not all going to make it, obviously, but it's Fox, Ellis, and Keegan.
Yes.
Fox's thing is he's got to do it every night.
Yeah.
I know that's asking a lot, but like there's some nights where you're like, come on, man. I don't care who was out there.
In the preseason, he's showing it right now, though, early. Yeah. So, and I know it's just preseason, but still.
I'm glad you said that.
I'm going to say.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
A lot of people think De'Aaron's not a great on-ball defender. He's a little kind of lackluster. He thinks that people think he's jumping around and like that's what I hear all the time. But he's just right there. He's always nailed on him. Always able to get his hands in.
He uses his chest. He moves his legs. Here's the thing: defense isn't just being able to do it physically. Like you have to be able to do it mentally and. That's like Deuce is saying, all game long, consistently. And I think sometimes he has turned it on and off, and it can't be that if you want to be one of the best.
I'll say this: I cannot think of another point guard in the NBA right now who can score like he can and defend like he can. And it's not just they don't hide De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron late game, he'll call for the prime matchup. Yet the other night against Utah, Markkanen. Mm-hmm. He's a 7-footer knocking the ball away from him. So your question was about Keon Ellis, defensive team in the future. I'm saying no cap. I mean, I think he's got an opportunity for sure. I mean, the guy plays it at a high level for sure.
Yeah, would love to see it. We're running out of time here, but last question. Isaac Jones will develop and contribute to this Kings team in the next 2 years. Cap or no cap?
Oh, I just want to say no cap because I love his story. I love what he has physically, and I know his game is so raw, but I'm always curious, okay, if you're under Mike Brown, can the discipline under Mike Brown teach him a new way to really play this game at a high level? You never know with these guys, but I'm just going to say no cap because I want it.
I'm going to say no cap as well because he doesn't have his 3-point shot, and this is something he's learning. He didn't shoot threes before. He's kind of a late bloomer, right? And I just look at what he can do right now, and I'm like, there's something there. And if you can develop that, and if he can become like a respectable 3-point shooter, then there could be a spot for him because with his length, 7'3" wingspan, his size, his touch, he's got pretty good feel. Good hands. I think he has a chance in the NBA, but it's really hinges like so many guys. It's like, all right, you have the measurables, you have certain elements. Can you hit a 3? And if you can't in this league, it's tough because otherwise you need to have another elite skill set.
Yeah. He has all the tools to be a big part of this team in the future, I think.
For one, I'm a huge fan of Isaac.
Yeah, you really are. Yeah.
No, I'm a big fan of him. Watching him play the game 1 against the Warriors, he hit 3 shots in a row, turnaround jumpers, back down, and turnaround. It was quick.
He's interesting.
Yeah. He's a big body too. He's 6'9", 240, something like that. He's big.
All right. Well, you wanted to talk about Mo's high school hooping days.
I saw you were a baller in high school.
You mean still a hooper, but
no, I found your max prep stats.
Oh my god, yeah, dude. You know what's so funny?
16 points a game, junior year, senior year, with I think 3 assists, 4 rebounds, and 2.5 steals.
Hooping.
2.5 steals?
Dude, that's the thing. I wasn't the most athletic, but I had a nose for the ball, and I would I mean, if I was on Mike Brown's squad, he would love me for all the deflections I had. Hands always up in the passing lanes. But I will say this, we had some of the worst programs in my high school for women's basketball. So like, and no offense, but I mean, some of the teams I was playing on my junior and senior year were absolutely awful. Absolutely. I mean, no, and I mean, it's not even unfair to say that, because it was unfair for me, who was trying to, get a college scholarship, which is why I played AAU basketball during the off season.
Yeah. No, but I mean, you were a baller, man. You killed it.
I mean, you could shoot it.
And then also, I saw some stats. You were, I think you're number 2 in Metro for 3-pointers made, and then 22 in Sac Joaquin for 3-pointers made.
Different.
Wait, still?
That's what I just read. I mean,
I dropped 7 threes in my senior night on our home floor.
Wow. I think you had like 63s, I think. In
it was, it's such a different time too, right? Because
but you were letting it fly.
I mean, junior and senior year, I had to let it fly. Like, pass me the rock and let me shoot the ball. But no, it's so funny because I look back at my game in high school, just like compared to even when I played junior college ball, and then I played some pro-am ball in San Francisco, and I look at that time and I'm just like, if I'd only done so many different things to be a better basketball player. And because even if I didn't have the best team, I just didn't have the right mentality to bring it to a next level. But anyway, I don't even know why I'm breaking that down.
This sounds like something for your therapist.
I know.
Deuce, did you hoop in high school at all at Del Campo?
It's so funny. I got man. Now speaking of something I bring up with my therapist. No, you're fine. We talked about this before, but I got cut my freshman year, and it was my dad had just like, after my dad goes back to prison, and like I just had no one to push me to like, hey, go out again. Hey, let's work on this. I had no one, and I just like, it's one of my big regrets because I play all the time. Like I play every weekend, and
he would be a good.
It's just so it kind of irritates me, but it also is like something I've come to try to accept, because like it led me to like, oh, I'm going to start. I was that nerdy journalist kid in high school where I was writing for the school newspaper and covering sports. And like, it kind of pushed me into the career path I'm on. And, basketball is still a major part of my life, obviously with my job, but like, I mean, I play every weekend.
Yeah, we're gonna try and get out there with you guys.
Maybe we gotta get a little 2v2. Beam City Sports, do some
Hey, we go at 7 a.m. on Saturday at Roosevelt Park. So
I'm a hooper. I played all 4 years in high school. Played at SF State a little bit, so I'm a bucket.
There we go.
Okay, we'll see if you come out.
We'll see.
Played on field.
When someone calls himself a hooper, I automatically go, I'm gonna
call myself a hooper.
I'm gonna lock him down. So come on out to Roosevelt, see if you can hang with us in fives, because we're
I'm ready.
5, and I don't know, man. We'll test how good your skills still are at this point against an old man who is playing better than ever. I'm aging very well.
Yep. That's what they say out there.
Well,
aging like fine wine.
Yeah, aging like fine wine. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. It's been a great episode, and just continue grinding, and excited for the season.
Keep inspiring us.
Yeah, we'll definitely catch you guys on the court soon, and see you on TV, and keep doing big things.
Appreciate you guys so much, and good luck with everything. You guys keep grinding too, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a good one, guys.
Cheers.
You too.